What is up, Sports Geeks? It's your host, Josh, here back with another episode, another College Hoops episode, joined by Nick, the college basketball guru himself. As always, Nick, pleasure having you on. And we are here with 5 sleeper teams going into March Madness. So this is just 5 teams that we think are going to outperform their projection going into March Madness. I will say, quick disclaimer, got a puppy this past weekend. If you hear him barking in the background, apologies. But other than that, we're going to hop right into this. So we have 5 teams between the two of us. Nick, you have 3, I have 2. I'm going to let you get right into your first one here.
My first team is a team that's trending up now. So by the end of this, by the time we get a bracket, they may or may not even be a sleeper team anymore. But it is the Arizona Wildcats. They're 15-6 overall right now, 9-1 in Big 12. They're tied for first. They're ranked 20th right now in the nation. They're 12th in KenPom. They started off the year 4-5, and a lot of people, thought that was the end of them. They thought this was a team that, they didn't have the dogs that they did in years prior, and that this was a team that really wasn't going to recover from this poor start because of the teams they lost to in the beginning. They couldn't compete in these big time games. But you look at them now; they're averaging 83 points a game. That's good enough to be 23rd nationally. They have Caleb Love. They have Jaden Bradley. They have a great transfer in Trey Townsend, who's averaging 9 and 5 right now. All that they're asking from him too, that's all they need him to do is give you at least 10 and 5. And I think they could be a really good sleeper team because you got Caleb Love. I mean, while yes, that can hurt, it also can help because he's got the experience. He's led a team to a Final Four in Carolina when they were an 8 seed, got all the way to the championship and lost. I see this team, and some of their strengths I see is that they're a really high tempo offense. They love to get up and down the floor. They're not afraid to take some iffy shots, but they do tend to make them for the most part. And I think that they have a really deep rotation. You look at this team, they play 8, 9, 10 guys. They can do a full hockey lineup switch change if they need to. And I think the biggest X factor for them is their perimeter defense is terrible. They don't really guard the 3-point line very well. And that's going to become a real problem when you get into these tight games. And I think they also need to get a lot more consistency out of their guard play. They get Caleb Love and Jaden Bradley playing like they did last year during the regular season in the tournament. I don't think you see them losing to a team like Clemson again. I think you see them getting to, Sweet 16, Elite 8 if they get the right draw and possibly even making it to the Final Four.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like Arizona as well. I mean, they are absolutely trending upwards, like what you're saying. And I think one thing, I mean, you're mentioning the fast pace, which is helpful, right? When you can outscore teams, but it's helpful when you have a good defense as well. And you mentioned the perimeter defense. That is a concern, but their overall defensive efficiency is a top 35 defensive efficiency, right? And you're playing the fast-paced Big 12. So I'm not necessarily overly concerned with their defense. I mean, they do have the ability to, if they were to get matched up against like a Kentucky, just get lit up from 3, right? And that certainly could happen. But I mean, I think there's several matchups that would be really good for a team like Arizona. The good defensive efficiency and the extremely high-paced offense, and you have the old guard play, right? I mean, you have Bradley started at Alabama, transfers in. This is his second year in the program now. You have Caleb Love, started North Carolina, transfers in. This is his second year in the program now. So now you're starting to get a little bit more accustomed to that style of basketball. I mean, I think North Carolina played a very similar, and Bama, I think they play a very similar style as Arizona. But I do like the Wildcats there. I think that they could be a sleeper team. I'm right there with you. I mean, the other thing, you have 11 quad 1 opportunities that they've already played this season. So if you're going to sit here and say, oh my gosh, this is a team that's 15-6, you have 6 losses on the year, every single one of them is in a quad 1 loss. So there's not bad losses here, right? Like you have a home loss against Duke, on the road against Wisconsin, right? Okay, these aren't bad. You have the West Virginia, Oklahoma, those ones are neutral sites. UCLA's neutral sites, but all of those are at the beginning of the year when you haven't really picked up steam yet, right? I mean, you've wins over Iowa State, right? You have a win over West Virginia. You beat Cincinnati on the road. Like these are decent wins. Yes, I mean the Iowa State one's a great win. So I think their resume is just fine. It'd be interesting to see how they close out the season, right? You have Houston at home. You have to play at Iowa State. Can you complete the sweep? I doubt it, but just interesting to see what the Wildcats do there. But no, I really like Arizona. I'm gonna go to a team here for my first one. It's going to be a team that I've talked about probably plenty. But I still think that, I mean, I had them in my Final Four predictions last week. And Final Four prediction is them overachieving, certainly. So I have them here as well. And it's the St. John's Red Storm. They're playing Marquette tonight. So this is being recorded Tuesday night at like 5. It's probably going to be posted by 6. This game starts at 6:30. So this is going to be a big game for, one, the Big East regular season title, but two, what's the St. John's team made of, right? We're really going to get to see if RJ Lewis, Zuby Elijiofor, Kadari Richmond, if these guys can truly play at this extremely high level, if Pitino can rally these guys. I mean, they're playing at home with, in my opinion, the Big East like title on the line, I would say nearly. The place is going to be rocking, and I truly think the defensive intensity that St. John's plays with. I texted you this past weekend on Saturday. What Saturday proved to me is that outside of Houston, Tennessee and St. John's are clearly the two best defensive teams in the nation. And I mean, it was as clear as day for me. And sure enough, you look at the defensive efficiency, it's 1, 2, 3 is Houston, St. John's, and Houston, Tennessee, St. John's. But St. John's plays very good defense. They're very long. They rebound the hell out of the ball. And Kadari Richmond has really started to come along. I mean, it's the game winner on Saturday, right? So he's really started to come along. RJ Lewis has been in a little bit of a slump, but that's been when Kadari Richmond's starting to pick his game up. So if RJ Lewis comes out of the slump tonight and you have him and Richmond playing the way that we know they both can, this St. John's team is really dangerous to me.
I love this pick. And, we talked about them when you had them in the Final Four. I think they are a fantastic team that is still flying under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the bracketology, I'm pretty sure they're anywhere from that 4 to 6. Like they're
net 20. They're net 24 right now.
They're not getting the love you would think they'd be getting, considering, like you said, this game tonight is almost like if they win this, they're probably going to go on to win the regular season Big East title.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about they have a great defensive efficiency and scheme. They live and die by the defense. They have one of the better coaches in college basketball in Rick Pitino.
Mm-hmm.
I think people just kind of forget they have. And like you just said, they haven't even been getting the best out of Kadari Richmond. You look at his past five games, he had 10 points, 12 points, 19, 13, 24. And he's shooting 71% in that against Seton Hall, 53% against Xavier, 85% against Georgetown, and 72% against Providence. Yeah. He is starting to figure out the scheme. He's starting to figure out, what shots he needs to take, what are his shots in this offense, and it's finally starting to round into form. Yeah. Like you said, if you get RJ Luis back too, those two together, I mean, it could seriously be a team that could be a 4, 5, 6 seed that should really be ranked anywhere on the 2 or 3 seed line. And they could easily make that run and knock off, let's say a Houston or an Iowa State.
Yep.
And, really get a path to the Final Four.
Yeah. And I mean, I would even argue that I think the defense that they play, if they're a 4 seed and I'm 1 seed Duke and I get to match up against them in the Sweet 16, I don't like that because the defensive intensity that they play with, if you're, freshman, ball handlers, right? Because I mean, in all honesty, Proctor and James have not been handling the ball at really much at all. I'm not going to say much at all. They've been handling it a lot less than what we kind of expected. It's been Flagg and Kneppel handling it a ton. So if you have those two ball handlers coming into the defensive intensity that they're going to have to play against, and Cooper Flagg's playing 40 minutes like he always is, and against this defense, this is just going to be difficult, right? Duke's still going to be favored. Do I think Duke wins? Probably. I still think they win.
Yeah.
But the matchup is one that I'm not going to – I think Duke wins 3 out of 5, but I do think St. John's wins 2. So I think St. John's, I think they're going to overachieve. I will say just a personal personally, I love watching a good mid-range. And I know that's certainly a dying art in the game of basketball today. Maybe it's already dead. Kadari Richmond and RJ Lewis are sitting there by the fire, blowing on it, trying to keep it going because these guys love their mid-ranges. The entire team does, but Kadari Richmond and RJ Lewis really love their mid ranges, and it's just fun to watch. Like I'm thinking of the game winner Kadari Richmond hit this past weekend. As soon as he elevates, it's like, oh, that's going in. So I'm a sucker for a good mid range, but I like this St. John's team a lot. The defensive intensity is spectacular. I'm really, really, really interested to see what they can do against a real tester tonight against Marquette.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree. And one last touching point on that. I mean, we look at their last 5 games, the most points they gave up in any of those games was 71. And that was a game against Xavier. They were down 16, and they still only gave up 71 points and came back and won the game in overtime.
Yeah, that was in
by
overtime.
8. They said they only gave up 71 points in overtime. That's
Yeah.
insane. That is
Yeah.
actually insane.
No,
So for my next team, I'm going to stay in the Big East. And this is a team right now, I think, that's kind of dealing with injuries. They were kind of dealing early with identity crisis, and we know that. We talked about it out in Maui. They really struggled. You know, look at them right now. They're 16-6 overall, 8-3 in the Big East, 19th in the AP poll, so they're up there. But you look at their Ken Palm, they're 35th. So maybe that AP poll ranking is a little, fugazi. We're going to give it to them because they had a great win against Marquette on Saturday, but it's the UConn Huskies.
Yeah.
And I think for them, it's kind of, they had to start out early. They had to figure out who they were, and they found out early in Maui that they weren't just going to steamroll teams. Teams saw them as UConn, but they didn't see them as UConn of the past.
Right.
And I think that was kind of a tough pill for some of the leaders on that team to swallow, especially Danny Hurley, as we saw what he did out there. All the technical fouls and the yelling and this and that. But I think they're really starting to turn a corner. I really think they are. You look at their offensive rating right now; it's at 120. That's seventh, and that's 7th nationally. And they're doing this without one of their best players and freshman Liam McNeely.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't played since January 1st. He's averaging 14.5, 3 on 43% shooting. And I mean, if you get him back and you pair him with Karaban, Terrence Reed down low, I mean, that's a really good 3 through 5 that most teams can't really size up with and battle against.
Yep. And
I think for UConn, their biggest thing, it's probably going to be guard play once again. I mean, you had Aiden Mahaney beginning of the year. They thought he was going to be what he was at St. Mary's. He wasn't. He had a few stretches there where he was, a few games where he came out and really showed that he could still do it, but he hasn't done it. And then you also have to put a lot of that on Hassan Diarra. And right now he's proven that he can. He has 7 assists per game, but you really need to have the guard play. And we talk about it. If you don't have guard play come March, you can only rely down low for so much to get wins. So I think for them, if they can get healthy, they can get the guards start playing well again. They could also be a really scary team in that anywhere from 4 to 6 range as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is almost, I'm not going to compare him to the 4 seed UConn that we saw 2 years ago, right? Because that team obviously went on to win a national championship, crushing everybody by like 20 points.
Yeah.
But I do think that this is a UConn team that's struggled in the year, but it's good struggles, right? This isn't struggles like you can't solve this problem, right? This is struggles like, okay, you're struggling to rebound the ball today. Okay, you're struggling to hit the 3 today. Okay, you're getting shots hit against you, right? Like thinking back to like the Memphis game, they're hitting step back 3s in your face. Okay, tough luck. But this UConn team has plenty of ability there. And I think that when you lose somebody like Liam McNeely for a good chunk of the season, as long as he can come back soon enough that he can work out, any rust before the tournament, it's going to help you. And I think we see that, it's a trend, right? Is if you have a team and they rely on Liam McNeely to score 15 a game, and you take Liam McNeely away and you have to find a way to score 15 more a game from everybody else, when you bring Liam McNeely back into that team, you're going to be a better team. And I think that's what we've seen, and it's what we will see when McNeely comes back, is when you have guys like Mahaney, who's been leaned on a little bit more. Solo Ball, I do think, has been leaned on a little bit more, right? Jalen Stewart, Jaden Ross. These guys have been leaned on more, and they've played well. They've stepped up. So, I mean, to go beat Marquette without, in my opinion, second best player, I think Karaban's your best player. I would say he's your second. I would say Liam McNeely's your second best player. They're going to be just fine. And I look at their rotation, and I love it. Like Solo Ball, Hassan Diarra, you have McNeely, Karaban, and Sampson, right? And then you can bring in Terrence Reed, who's a great 6th man. You have Jalen Stewart coming in off the bench, right? You have Aiden Mahaney coming in off the bench. You have whoever else might be, right? Jaden Ross can come in off the bench. You have so much depth with this UConn team. That's 9 guys I just listed, and I love all of them. So it's going to come down to, I think, can you continue to shoot the three well from your guards? Can Diarra shoot the three well? We know Solo Ball can, but can you consistently do it in the tournament? And then Mahaney, can you play like your old self at St. Mary's? If you can at all, this team's going to be dangerous.
I think, like you brought up, Solo Ball. I mean, I think he really started to, take that leap, especially from freshman year. Last year, he only averaged 3.5 points a game. Now he's up over 15. And you look at it, the moment that Liam McNeely got hurt, Solo Ball's been averaging, he's at 22, 16, 16, 15, 15, 23, 20, 16, 25.
Yep.
He's taken that workload, and that's exactly what you need, because once you get McNeely back, now you got to guard Solo Ball, and you got to guard McNeely, and you got to guard Caravan. Those are three guys that can shoot from outside, but also drive into the lane and get tough buckets. I mean, you look at it, Solo Ball shot 78% from three against Marquette in their gym in an NBA arena.
Yeah.
Most of these tournament games are taking place in NBA arenas, big backgrounds, and he tore it up, going on the road. I think if he can play the same way he's been playing these past 2 months, I don't see why this UConn team couldn't make a run.
Yep. No, I mean, I completely agree. And also, coaching is so, so valuable when it comes down to, think about if you're a 4 seed, a 5 seed, right? You win your first round game. Can you win the second round? And then you're going to play a big seed, right? You're going to play a 1 seed if you're a 4 or 5, right? But you have 4 or 5 days to prep for that game. If you're going to give me, Danny Hurley 4 or 5 days to prep for a Sweet 16 game, I like his preparation over nearly every other coach's preparation, right?
Easily.
And so, am I saying they're going to win the game? Maybe not, right? There's way more that goes into than just coach's prep, but it's like giving Saban 2 weeks to prepare for a national championship game, right? If you give Nick Saban 2 weeks to prepare for a national championship game, 5 years ago, it's going to be really difficult to beat them in that game. Can you? Yes, you can. If you're more talented, which UConn might come up against teams like Duke that are more talented than them, yes, you can lose that game. But
they'll fight.
They will fight, and they have the ability and the coaching. They also just have the ability to light it up from three. If McNeely's hitting, if Mahaney comes in and for one game decides to play like himself, which we have seen. We have seen one-off games of him playing like his old self, and Solo Ball plays like we know he can. And then obviously Solo Ball and Caravan, I think, are the consistent pieces here. It's, can you get everything around them to really start going? So I mean, it will be interesting to see. But no, I love the UConn shout there. So my second and our fourth one of the day here, I'm gonna go to the Big Ten. I'm not gonna go to my Michigan State Spartans. Shout out to Tom Izzo there, but I'm not gonna go Michigan State. I'm gonna go Maryland, and I think this Maryland team, to me, is one of the hottest teams in the nation right now, certainly in the Big Ten, in the nation right now. And you look at their resume, and if you just told a lot of people they're the 15th net 15 right now. What? Seriously? Yeah. You look at their resume and it's like, okay, well they're 7-5 in quads 1 and 2, and they're undefeated in quads 3 and 4. So yeah, no, that makes sense. You look at their wins, right? You win at home against UCLA. You go to Illinois and win. You win on the road in Indiana. You win home against Wisconsin. Great wins. You look at your losses. You lose at Purdue by 5 points. Tough. You lose at Oregon by 4 points. Okay, right? You lose at Northwestern, which is a very difficult place to play, and we've seen that all year.
Yep.
Right? You lose at Northwestern by 2. Right? You lose at home against Marquette by 4. All of these games are extremely winnable games in that they were in. There's not a single game that they've laid a stinker in other than the Washington game. The Washington loss is a bad loss. I mean, fortunately, it was on the road, so it's only going to be a quad 2 loss. They played terrible that game. It was right before Christmas break, if I am remembering correctly. So it's unfortunate for them, but they've been great. They've been really hot. They're such a good rebounding team. And to me, that's what can really, really win them games. They crash the offensive glass, similar to the way Illinois does it, but they crash the offensive glass so hard. You have Derek Queen, Julian Reese, both guys that can really, really rebound the crap out of the ball. And to me, that's what can help win you games. If you're going to give a team 2-3 opportunities late in the game, they're gonna make you pay for it. And that's what this Maryland team does, is they go get the second, the third opportunities and they make you pay for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really do love this team. I mean, they are complete. They got a lot. I mean, they got how many guys they have that average over 12 points. You got one, two, three, four. You got five guys that average over 12 points. I mean, Derek Queen, I think personally, is one of the best freshmen in the country.
Yep.
He has came into this Maryland program and taken over. He's averaging 15 and 8, and he's doing it on 54% shooting.
Yep.
I mean, and he's a 76% free throw shooter
That's what I
as
was just
well,
about to mention.
which
Yep.
is crazy because you don't usually see that. And then you go to the other big man who starts right next to him, Julie Reese, who averages 14 and 9, 57%. And then from the free throw line, he's 74% as well. This team is fantastic in the way they play. Like you said, they don't really have any bad losses besides a game during Christmas break where they had to go out to Washington and play on a game a day after New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't have any really, really bad losses. And, I think it's about time that we see Maryland get back into the top of half of the Big Ten.
Yep.
And, I think the way they play basketball, a lot of teams aren't going to want to see them come March, especially around the Sweet 16 Elite Eight time, because this is a team that's got some experience and some transfers to where they're going to be ready to go, and they're going to be hungry to win and go knock off a big dog, and I think they can do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I'm right there with you. I also think somebody like, I mean, Jacoby Gillespie, we can't not mention him, right? He can clip it from three. Rodney Rice can clip it from three, especially the last two games, 71, 50% from three, as he puts up 23 and 16 points in both quad one wins, right? Rodney Rice has really taken a step up this year. And Jacoby Gillespie's played great as well. And then you also have Miguel, right? Kind of rounding out that double-digit scorer group that you're mentioning. Three guys that can really clip from three in there. The only two guys that don't, they rebound the hell out of the ball. So
they average 8 and 9.
Yeah, I'm fine with you not being able to shoot the three. Having two guys, I think in today's day and age, having two guys on the court that can't shoot the three is pretty rare, right? That guy can't shoot it at all. That's pretty rare. But this Maryland team gets away with it because you have three guys that absolutely can, and the two guys that you don't, that can't, are such good rebounders. So, no, I mean, I love this Maryland team. I think that if I'm looking at the Big Ten teams that are going to outperform, Maryland is out at the very, very top of that list, because I do think that there's going to be plenty of people in their brackets that Maryland's flying so far under the radar that you see Maryland as a whatever, right? They could be a 4 seed easily. You see Maryland as a 4 seed and you're like, oh, I think this is a good opportunity for a 13 over 4. I don't think so. I think this is a Maryland team that I like over most 5 seeds, and I like them to really, really compete against most 1 seeds. So, no, I love Maryland here. But over to you for your third and final and our fifth and final of the show here.
All right, so this might be my least dark horse out of all of them, so that's why I kept them for last.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team, though, that I don't think a lot of people saw this coming. This was a team that beginning of the year they were picked to finish, I believe it was 8th or 9th behind my Bearcats, which still can't believe anybody would do that. But this is a team that is 13th in the country, 17 and 4 overall, 8 and 2 in Big 12 play, tied second right now. They're 9th in KenPom. They only give up 65 points per game, which is 35th nationally in scoring defense. And they're a team that just shoots the lights out of the ball. Mm-hmm. They absolutely shoot the lights out of the ball. Credit to what they did this Saturday. I don't know if I assume most people saw that game. It was an absolutely insane basketball game. They go on the road to a hostile Houston, a team that, I mean, most people see Houston just to absolutely steamroll the rest of their way on the Big 12.
Yep.
And they go in, they get their best player, JT Toppin, kicked out in the first 4 minutes because he accidentally kicked somebody in the balls, and they deemed it a flagrant 2 and kicked him out. Then their head coach gets kicked out, Grant McCasland, because he loses his mind. He gets a tech, and then he gets pissed and throws his papers into the crowd, and then he gets ejected. So Houston's sitting on like 6 free throws at the start of the game in the first 4 minutes. And Texas Tech, they use it as fuel. They were pissed. You could tell that after that series happened, you could tell they were ready to play. And they did. They came out. They punched Houston in the mouth. They stuck with them the whole game. Even took a lead throughout most of the game and just battled. And I give a lot of credit to, Chance McMillan. He really took over in that game. Mm-hmm. He took over and he was the guy. I mean, you look at this team, they got 3 guys who average 14 points or higher, 3 guys that average 9 or higher, and they have 4 guys that shoot 40% or higher from deep. I mean, that's a team that can shoot the ball. They average 32% overall as a team from deep, and that's obviously including your big men who are going to bring it down because they shoot 26% from deep. But this team can do it on both ends. I mean, it's a team that a lot of people didn't think were going to be able to do it, but I almost see them as a Houston-esque team because they play the shit out of the defensive end. They get in your face. They're physical. They're tough. They're nasty. But then they are able to get out and run, and they can shoot anywhere from behind the arc. I mean, I watched them play at Cincinnati before the wheels completely fell off, and they were making threes from beyond like NBA 3-point range. It was ridiculous. Like, they didn't matter if it was contested or not. If they think it's a shot, they're going to put it up, and they're not going to get yelled at for it because they make up for it on the defense end, and it is so impressive. This is a team that obviously not a lot of people saw prior to the year being really anything. Yeah, they're going to make the tournament, probably be like a 9 seed, 10 seed, scrape on in. But now they have a legitimate case where if they keep going in the Big 12, and let's say they finish with maybe 3 or 4 losses in the Big 12, I mean, they do something in the Big 12 tournament, they could legitimately be a 3 or a 4 seed and fall right into that range of, a team that had a 1 seed doesn't want to see be their 4. You don't want to see them because there's a very high chance the way they play basketball, they could get out and run, they can slap the glove on you, and you look late into the second half, maybe 6 minutes left, and you're down 9, 10, 11 points, and you don't know what to do.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, I love this Texas Tech Red Raiders team. They when you pair, I don't think I'm not going to read into it too much, right? I'm going to keep this simple. When you pair a team that's got very, very high defensive efficiency, a top 30 defensive team, and you pair that with elite 3-point shooting, that makes it spectacularly difficult to beat them on a neutral site, because what you have is the ability and the consistent ability to score 3.
Yep.
If you score 3 consistently and you make it hard for them to score 2, the stats are telling me this is a hard team to beat, right?
Yeah.
And and I think that this Texas Tech team, you have good guard play, right, in Toppin and McMillan, and then you have the ability to just lock it up on defense, and that's enough of a reason for me to be a fan of them. We talk about, can you speed teams up? They can speed teams up. Can you slow the pace down if you need to? They can. So for me, I love this Texas Tech Red Raiders team. I think all of the boxes that we need to be checked to come into March Madness and perform well, they check. And so for me, I'm a big fan of them. As a Michigan State fan, I'm really, really hoping that we don't end up as a 4 and they end up as a 5 or something like that, or vice versa, because that's not going to be a fun second-round matchup, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their schedule right now. I mean, they're 17-4. Their losses are against St. Joe's at home, which wasn't great, but that game was chippy. St. Joe's brought it to them and punched them in the mouth, and I don't think they were ready for it, but it was only their 5th game of the year. So I'm not going to look too deep into that. They lost 78-77. They lost to A&M by 5. They lost to UCF by 4, and then they battled Iowa State, which we watched and talked about. Lost by 1 in overtime on a great set by Iowa State.
Yeah.
I mean, but you look at some of the wins that this team has. It's good. I mean, it's good. They went at Kansas State, and Kansas State's playing good basketball right now. A team that's starting to figure it out a little bit with all their transfers, who just beat the crap out of Iowa State at Iowa State.
Yep.
They beat Arizona by 16. They beat TCU by 14, and then they go to Houston and beat Houston. And then they got another opportunity tonight at home against Baylor. Like, they have the opportunity to keep building their resume, to sneak inside of that top 4 seed line, and they could do some serious damage.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love it. So those are our 5 sleeper teams here for coming into March Madness. We have weekly college basketball content coming every single week here with myself and Nick. So those are our 5 teams. I mean, Texas Tech, UConn, and Arizona, and then Maryland and St. John's here. So a lot of red teams in there. What?
A lot of red.
Maryland, St. John's, Texas Tech is red. No, UConn's the outlier. Arizona's got a little bit red. We got 4 out of 5. We get a little bit of red in there, but
yeah.
I mean, we had the Red Storm, the Red Raiders. I mean, there we have It's not the red Terrapins, but no, this is those are 5 teams we think will outperform their projections come March Madness. But other than that, though, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.